Rogers TV.
Join me over coffee as we delve into topics that affect our everyday lives. And today I'm in conversation with Jenna Prestidge. Once again, I love having Jenna on the show. And she is a children's author and an advocate for women in hockey. And our conversation today is really focusing on why it's important to have more women in sports, particularly hockey, because she is an advocate for hockey, and how this has led her into becoming a children's author with a series of books that are just flying off the shelf. So welcome, Jenna, and I'm so grateful that we have this chance to meet again, and your flourishing career.
Thank you, Mary Jane. Thank you so much for inviting me on the show today. It's so nice to be here.
Oh, well, now you have really grown up with hockey and been part of hockey, and now tell us a little bit about your journey in hockey and how it has led to you becoming an author. But the other part of this is also being why women in sport in general, women and girls in sport, is so important.
Well, I will say I don't think I'd be who I am today if I wasn't an athlete and I didn't grow up playing sports. It led me to so many different adventures in my life, and I ended up into the business world, and I think a lot of those characteristics that I learned about being a team player and everything I learned growing up as an athlete really helped me become who I am today. I started playing hockey on the first girls hockey team in Owen Sound in 1994, I think was the first year, or 1995, and I've played hockey ever since. So it was one team, it was the U19 level, and everyone from that under the age of 19 that wanted to play girls hockey and was signed up in Owen Sound played together. So I was one of the younger ones. I was like 9, 10 years old, I think, when I started. And that was an interesting experience in general. You know, there was 10 to 15,000 girls in Canada playing at the time, registered with Hockey Canada, and I was one of them. So we'd wait to see what we looked like as a team and then enter into what category we thought we could play at. So if we could play at the C level, the B level, we never got to the A level. So that's how that all started. And as the registration numbers grew and the interest in girls hockey grew, there became more and more teams in Owen Sound. And then I found myself on one of the older teams when I went to graduate from my minor hockey career in, I think it was 2003, the captain of the first Ice Hawks team that we had in Owen Sound. And that sort of led me, I was also playing lacrosse at the time, so I had quite a competitive lacrosse career. I played for Team Ontario, I played for Owen Sound locally, and I also played at Wilfrid Laurier University for 4 years, and then switched back to hockey and played in Germany for a year, professional women's hockey. And then I've sort of played hockey ever since. So that whole journey in itself is I learned how to, work with different team members to do different things, if it was the power play or if it was just leading the team behind the scenes and motivating the team, making sure everybody felt comfortable. All of those different types of attributes led me to different parts of my life of being able to get along with a lot of different type of people or advocate for different people and just being a good team player, I think.
Well, these are actually really good overall good skills to have, just in terms of becoming a well-rounded individual. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you have this athletic tendency as well, so you're building your body strength as well as your intelligence, as well as your capacity to get along with, I'm sure, a lot of different personalities.
Definitely. Definitely. That's like anywhere. Like if you work at a large business or anything, there's a lot of different types of personalities that you're going to be coming in contact with, and you all have to work towards a similar goal together, and that's the same with sports. Whether it's winning the game or improving on, different plays or just the team atmosphere, all of those types of different things. It's really important to work together towards something.
Well, it sounds like your career at 9 was actually the starting point for many other hockey teams, girls hockey teams, and because as the years have gone on, we are seeing more girls, more girl hockey teams coming available to play in the different communities.
Mm-hmm. We definitely are. Even in Owen Sound locally, like I said, when I started there was one team, now there's 14 teams, and they have a lot of different teams in the same age group. So you'll have a U13 team, and you'll have an A and a B and a C level team, or a house league team. So it's really nice to just see how much the sport has grown. But that's also with a lot of girls' sports in general, not just hockey. There's just a lot of growth behind getting girls involved in sports, because I think we all know how important it is, and there's still a drop off of girls staying in sports when they become teenagers. So now hopefully that will keep girls involved in sports.
Well, I think it's really important that we start to see equity in women in sports, in as well in comparison to men in sports, to see that equity.
Yes, it very much is. I could talk about that all day. I see it myself. The PWHL, Professional Women's Hockey, started in January of 2024, and it's just like a whole new chapter of women's sports opened up in 2024 for all of us to watch and enjoy. Just having people put money behind the professional level of the sport, whether it be the WNBA, soccer, rugby, even the lacrosse. Lacrosse is such a big part of our community here now. There's a professional league starting up, and the PWHL, having girls be able to grow up and seeing that what they're doing at like a minor hockey, minor lacrosse level, you can take that higher now. Before, when I grew up, there was one team that you were aiming for, and that was Team Canada. And if you didn't make Team Canada, it was sort of like, well, how good of a hockey player am I if I'm not one of the best 20 players in the country? But the boys don't grow up with that. They can grow up saying, oh, I'm going to go play NCAA, and I'm going to go play junior hockey, and I'm going to go do all these other things. I have the NHL. They have so many teams. I have so many options for what I can do as a professional athlete, whereas women, that wasn't available until the last year and a half, and it's so nice to see. It's just so refreshing. And you think of all these, like, if you can see it, you can be it, the saying that keeps coming up. And girls now can grow up with a totally different dream, and it's amazing.
I'm a little bit surprised that it's taken this long, and a little bit understanding why it didn't take this long. Two sides of the coin, but I'm really glad to see the progress. Now, the other part to this is that you're a mom, and you wanted your daughters to be able to read books about women in sports and women in hockey. And I think you found a roadblock.
I did find a roadblock, yes. It's actually, now when I look back about it, and it's only been about, not even 2 years, or just over 2 years, but it is sort of surprising that in January 2023, I was looking for books that would feature a young girl at the center of the book so that I could read them to my daughter, knowing that we're going to sign her up for hockey. And I was coming up with very few options. There are books out there, but I didn't find even a book series where you could follow one character through multiple adventures. And so that was what I saw as a need for my own daughter, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to start writing her some books, because my boys can go to the library, they can go to the bookstore, we can just pull books off of our own little bookshelf at home, and there they are. But my daughter, I have to go searching for her to see maybe a ponytail coming out of a helmet, or something that's realistic of girls in the sport, which I know because I have played for so many years. I know what it's like being in a change room with girls. I know what we talk about. So I tried to make that and create that for her as like hockey books written by a hockey player that can highlight the different things that we see as part of the game. So the Rosie books, we start with her joining a new team, and that could be transferred to joining anything or going to a new school. So a lot of kids that don't play hockey can take some lessons from that as well. But I thought, where could I start this hockey book series for her? Let's start with joining a new team, because that's an uncomfortable thing for anybody, even when you're older and you're like, it was also based on my own experience of moving back to Owen Sound after COVID and trying to find somewhere to play. And most of the girls that I grew up playing with weren't playing anymore. So I was getting phone numbers from people to try and go to different skates and try and find where I could get back into the sport, and opening that change room and every time being like, hi, my name's Jenna, like nice to meet you all. I know none of you, you have to put yourself out there. And that just reminded me of being a little kid and being like, that's a challenging thing to do. So let's make it more normal and draw attention to it and let everyone know everybody's the new person at some point. So that's okay. So that's where she starts. And then the next book in the series called The Harvest Cup. And I have been on winning teams and I have been on losing teams. And when I played at university, we won a lot of games, and we were at the top of the province. We won 4 back-to-back OUA championships, and I thought of those experiences, and I thought of sometimes when I played on teams where you know, you really wanted to win, but there was just no way it was going to happen. And I'm like, I'm going to make a book about how you have to deal with those types of losses as well and how challenging that can be, but you have to rise above and find the positive for that next time you're in that situation. Just like in life, the next time you hit that roadblock and you go, oh, I know what I'm going to do this differently this time. So those are good lessons for the kids to draw attention to. And it follows just her through her first season. Next is like she gets her first penalty and experiences like that. But I'm like, those are things that I can talk about as a hockey player, and I can educate that next generation. And once I was done writing these books for her, I thought, why not make these available to other girls that are out there that could find the benefit from seeing themselves represented on the page? And hopefully it has a positive impact. And I have heard it has actually blown me away what kind of impact it's had. Messages from all over the world, not just in Canada, of moms mainly just saying, I've been looking for books like these and I'm so thankful that I found them. Or I have a Rosie and here's a picture of her and this is what she's doing, and she's a hockey player and now she has her own book series, and it's just been really wonderful to see the results.
Well, not only has it, I mean, I purchased them for my granddaughter, who is a hockey player. Started off as a goalie, and now I believe she's defense, and she's scoring goals in every game she plays. Loves hockey. Is a very girly girl, but just is, you put her on the ice and wow, there she goes. And these are all good life lessons. These are learning tools that you can take into your life going forward, as you has already mentioned. But now you've reached another level with these books as well that you launched on Women's Day.
Yes, so book 7, this is a really special book because I set out to write these 6 books and illustrate the 6 books with my illustrator Emma Gall, and we did that together. And then I was hoping Rosie would have more adventures, and then the PWHL started. And I sat at home and I watched that inaugural PWHL game on January.
Let's start with, what are those letters mean?
Oh, yes, thank you. So used to all the hockey jargon, but Professional Women's Hockey League.
Professional Women's Hockey. I had to go through the article that I read twice to figure, all right, what does that mean?
Yes, Professional Women's Hockey League. So it started on January 1st of 2024. And like most women who have played hockey, or girls, we were all looking very forward to it. And I turned on the TV and I was watching the puck drop, and it just hit me. Actually, I feel like a little bit right now, like just seeing how far the game had come. And here's a moment where people are putting some finance behind making sure that this can be a viable league for women to have. And you see, like, so Jana Hefford and Billie Jean King are the ones dropping the puck, and I could just see the emotion in their eyes, and the fans and the players. It was just a monumental moment in hockey history now, not just women's hockey history, in hockey history for all of us. And around that time, there's all the same stories being echoed from all the women who had played. We're all talking about it, about how it got to this moment, and those experiences that we all had. And I had different experiences because I played girls hockey, but I have a cousin, for example, who always played boys hockey, and she never had a place to change, like a proper place to change. She would be changing in the janitor's closet or the washroom, putting her skates on at the bench. And she said to me one day, the best was when I got the referee's room. That was the absolute best. Well, then all these stories are going through my mind, and I thought, there's got to be a way to educate that next generation. I always start with my daughter. I want to educate my daughter in how we got here. So one day she'll remember about all those sacrifices and all those obstacles those women had to go through to get to this point of a professional women's league. So it sat with me for a few days, and I was like, how could I use Rosie to educate that next generation? And it came to me, actually my mom and I were talking, and my niece was doing a project for her history class, and she was interviewing my mom about just growing up. I think it was in the 1950s, 1960s, and what that was like. Wow. And then it hit me. I was like, why not do that with Rosie? And Rosie can interview her grandmother, and her grandmother can talk to her about her hockey career. And then she can learn something about what her grandmother had been through, and we can all learn through the eyes of her grandmother. So that's what happened. I just started writing the story based on Rosie's grandmother and her experiences in the game. And at one point, Rosie says to her, well, why did you want to play when it was so hard? Why would you want to keep playing? Yeah. And she says, as hard as all those obstacles sound, I didn't think much about it at the time. I love the game, and I would do anything to play. And that was like any girl playing that could rise above some of those obstacles. Really it was so important just to play. So all of those sacrifices that she made and all of those things that she overcame for all those women who played before, now look where we are.
That's amazing, because this is really a very intimate story that you're creating and putting into a book. But globally, it's as women, we all stand on the shoulders of women who've gone before us.
Exactly.
In all kinds of fields. And it is really important for us to recognize that where we are today was based on the sacrifices that women made and how they had to push forward, even if it was just inch by inch,
exactly,
in order to meet their dreams, their hopes, and their achievements.
Exactly.
And they were baby steps. Well, now we're actually able to take bigger steps going forward. Now it's the big leagues.
Exactly. And I don't think anyone just playing the game would think about those steps. And that's why I thought it was really important to put this book together. And it's actually dedicated to all the women and girls who came before as a dedication, because I was just thinking, you know what, now we're all part of history to get to this point, but it's still important to remember how it got here and all those little steps. And you don't realize at the time just how monumental that was to push everything forward. Yeah.
Now, as I recall, I could be wrong, and you're going to correct me if I am. Didn't the women's hockey world make the world champions, and the men's didn't? They were winning more games.
Oh, than the men's were? I'm not sure exactly. The difference there is the women have a world championship every year.
Yeah.
So it might be something to do with that. Whereas the men, it's scheduled every so many years.
Oh,
but
yeah.
But that's sort of what we had before. Now we have the PWHL, where you're like, we can now watch hockey more accessibly than we could one tournament every year.
It's on TV regularly now. Whereas women's sports was a special.
Exactly.
And now it's just a regular feature on your TV channels.
Exactly, which is amazing.
It is.
Yes.
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 So this book, particularly number 7, has a really different feel to it, because you're celebrating all the women who have gone before.
Yes.
And how does your daughter feel about this? You have a daughter and a son. So how does your daughter and your son both feel about this?
Well, my daughter's still pretty young, so she enjoys the Rosie stories, but she's only 4, just turned 4 at the end of last year. So she, I was reading it to her, and she's just picking out the characters and having fun with the story. And I think it'll be more monumental to her when she's a bit older. But I have 2 boys, 7 and 6, and they love the Rosie books. And I read them when I had my first proof of this. I sat down and read it to them. And so now they're growing up in a world where professional women's sports is normal. So they don't think about it any different. They just think they're watching hockey, which is really important, I think, for that next generation, to make sure that there's no division, So if you're a hockey player, you're a hockey player. It's not necessarily that you're a women's hockey player or a girls' hockey player. I always try and correct them in our house. I'm like, they play hockey. It's not, based on gender. So I read this book to them, and my 7-year-old son at the end, I said, so what did you think? What did you think of Rosie's story? Because I was wondering if it would resonate with him. They don't really know much about the plight of a women's hockey player. And he said, Mom, it wasn't good. It was great. It's my favorite one yet. And I just thought that was so wonderful to hear that, because they're my biggest critics. I read them the stories, and if they're not interested, I know the other kids won't be interested, right? But no, so they really enjoyed it. And something else that's really special about this book too that I should mention is we partnered with the PWHL themselves and the PA, so the Players Association, as well as Canadian Tire Jumpstart Charities and the Women's Sports Foundation. So a donation will be made to those organizations based on book sales in Canada and the United States. And the Women's Sports Foundation was founded by Billie Jean King herself.
Yes. I remember her as a top tennis player, and the famous Bobby Flay, I believe, and Billie Jean King, and I don't know, she just scooped that right up.
Yes. Well, she's amazing. She's such an inspiration.
Well, I think it's really, and I have played the male-female a little bit in this program, but really what is important, as the message that you made, is that it should be about the sport, not about the gender.
Exactly.
And so you play the sport. You're a hockey player, you're a tennis player, you're a lacrosse player, you're a baseball player.
Exactly.
You are a player rather than a definition, either a girls player or a girls team or a boys team.
Exactly.
And do you see a time when it's going to be blended, where you're going to see blended teams and you just become a player?
I don't know if I do, to tell you the truth. I think there's been some of that's coming up with the Olympics, right, where they've done some blended things. I think tennis, and there's another sport that's being introduced. I can't remember exactly what, but it's a blended. But I don't know if it will be like that for hockey or some of these other sports. I'm not sure. And I don't know if it necessarily needs to be. I just think that we all need our own platform, you know, and need to have access to the sports. And as the fans, we need to support those movements, you know. So yeah, I don't know, because I've also like played hockey with a lot of men and everything, and I think it is still, when it comes down to a little bit of a different sport within the same sport. So I don't know if we'll see that. We'll have to wait and see.
When I watch the younger teams, when they're just starting off, I am always thrilled to see that there are both girls and boys playing on the same team at these very early ages.
Yes.
Because I have always learned in my life that when you play with whether teammates or colleagues who are really good at their job, everybody becomes good.
Yes, it's very true.
Become better.
Very true. Very true. And I help coach my son's team now, and it's the U8 team, and there's one girl on the team, the rest are boys, but I don't think that matters. I think it's great that she signed up to play with them, and I think it's just whatever caliber of hockey we're playing, and the coaching staff, whatever practice plans they're putting together, everything, they're just trying to make the collective better together. So it's good that it's mixed.
Well, I think that, because in any situation, when you're working with folks who have a better edge, then everyone is pulled up. And it doesn't matter about the gender thing, the girl-boy thing, but you become the player on that team. And I'm really glad to see that at the younger ages, where they're not dividing them.
I agree with you, definitely, yeah.
Okay, so tell us a little bit more about this association with the Professional Women's League. How did that actually emerge?
That's a great question. So I wrote the book, and at the same time I'm releasing the other books of the series. And it kept coming back to it, thinking this is such a great story to share at a higher level than just with me. The PWHL was the inspiration behind the story, the whole creation of the league, so why not reach out to them and see if there's any chance of partnering with them or collaborating with them. So I started talking to them in June of last year, and it's I think part of this reminds me of being an athlete myself, is you set a goal, and it's like you just keep working and working and working towards it. So we got them on board, and then talked to the PA, and they were interested in getting on board too, and then talked to Canadian Tire, Jumpstart Charities, and the Women's Sports Foundation, and it just seemed like everybody was on board with it, which was so nice to hear, because I think this has been an interesting journey myself. When I first started down this path, I could not really find anyone interested in it, because we're talking about 2023 now, before the movement of women's sports and supporting women's sports. So I talked to a lot of different publishers, and I was getting very used to hearing no about a lot of what I was putting out there, and then to finally come to the stage where I was hearing yes was such a relief. And I was like, I know that the parents see the impact, and the little girls and boys reading the stories are seeing the impact, and but it was nice to feel that coming from a higher level, and seeing that they were happy to partner with what we were putting together too.
So one of the challenges that you as a person had to do was to reach out to all the publishers, and to reach out to the next level that you wanted to engage with all these other organizations. And so did hockey help to facilitate that skill and that confidence to be able to, okay, this publisher has turned me down, but that's not going to stop me. Okay, I'm going to continue on. So does that build that confidence to be able to take rejection and then keep going?
Definitely. I would say I would not be where I am today, like I said earlier in the show, without being an athlete and having grown up in sports. You get used to just trying to perfect things and make things better. Like the end goal is never quite the end goal, because you just want to be a better player. So you work harder and harder and harder to try and get your game better, no matter what it is, if it's shooting or passing or skating, anything. And so with this, I was like, okay, well, that's a no, that's fine. I know I'm on to something, I'm going to keep going. Going to keep going, going to keep going. And then here we are, and all of those characteristics and things I learned through sport are definitely coming back to play right now in my life.
And did you ever imagine that putting all those pieces together, that this is where you would be sitting?
No, I did not. No, no, not at all. I wanted to be a writer, and I was working hard at being a writer for a few years, and then I switched my focus to this, thinking that I'm going to try and make a positive impact in the world and in the best way that I can. And here we are. It just seems like it's a really good fit, and I would not have envisioned myself doing this necessarily, but it makes total sense. I'm not surprised. It seemed like everything in my life was leading me to these moments now.
So something you just revealed about yourself that I didn't know in the previous conversations we've had. I didn't know that you had wanted to be a writer.
Yes. I've been writing a few different things, which have been on hold since I started Rosie. But yeah, in 2019, I was on maternity leave with my second child, and I had always wanted to write, so I started writing. So just writing some kids' stories for my boys, and I started writing a memoir. My husband and I traveled around the world for our honeymoon, so I thought that would make a good book. So I'm halfway through that. It's going to take me a while to finish still, but yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So there was a background in writing as well, so the jumping into writing children's stories and having them printed out and done professionally,
yes,
was a step along the way. It wasn't just something out of nowhere.
Yes, it definitely wasn't something out of nowhere. It had taken a few years for me to even get confidence with sharing my work. And I was, sending it out to publishers and not hearing much back, which is normal, I think, when you're trying to set out down the artistic path. But I was definitely very tuned into trying to write stories and share stories, and it just feels very rewarding to be here in this moment. Definitely better than my wildest dreams. At this moment, I could not have dreamt up something better for me, partnering with the PWHL and launching a book based on the history of women's hockey for everybody to enjoy.
This is really exciting.
Well, thank you, Mary Jane.
One of the things that I've learned from speaking with other authors is that once one publisher says yes and the books get out, then other publishers start knocking at your door. So are you hearing from other publishers?
Not quite yet, actually. Not yet, but maybe by the time this airs, who knows? No, not yet, and that's okay. I feel like I said, I've just been moving forward, and I don't let any of that deter me. And I don't know if it would have been as successful as it has been without having some direction from myself, from the author, making it happen. I think I know being a hockey player, and I know now that I'm a parent, what parents are looking for, and I do story time at home with my kids, obviously. So I think I'm a very good advocate for the books themselves at this stage.
Well, I mean, that's something that is really important in terms of. Is there something that in our viewing audience, if someone who has always had a dream, always wanted to do something and never really had the courage to really step out of their comfort zone and do it? So I'm hoping that this conversation will inspire other women to think, okay, well, maybe I can continue to pursue this. It may not be in sport, and it may not be in writing, but it might be something else in their life that they've kind of sat back and said, maybe I'm not good enough. But I'm hoping your story will inspire other women to go forward and fulfill their dream.
Well, thank you, Mary Jane. I do think we have dreams, and when you're younger, you think about the dreams more often, and then all of a sudden when you're older, life sort of gets in the way, and if there's something that's still calling at you to put some effort and time behind, it's really worthwhile, because if it's a passion, you're going to find reward in it no matter what.
And thank you so much for being on our show today.
Thank you, Mary Jane.
Join us next time over coffee.
This program is brought to you by Rogers Xfinity, connecting you to more of what you love. Visit Rogers.com for more details. Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
passionate content creator ready to expand your audience reach? Do you have unique stories, captivating hobbies, or special interests that deserve a spotlight? Rogers TV is here to amplify your voice within the community. We offer you the platform to broadcast your content to a wider audience. And the best part, it's completely free. Don't miss this opportunity to share your vision and engage with viewers. Find out how Rogers TV can transform your content journey today.
With Canada's sovereignty and economy under threat, this election is a defining moment for the country.
There's so much on the line.
Get to know the candidates running to be your MP and represent your interests in Ottawa.